Hello, my friends, and welcome back on the show. So today we're talking about how to create a sustainable practice. So what we're going to talk today about are three things. One, I'm going to explain to you why focusing on the production metrics or financial metrics is not a good idea and why we find ourselves doing it. Then next, we're going to talk about why is it actually truly harder, scientifically proven, for female entrepreneurs to be business owners, especially in dentistry, medicine and dentistry. And three, what to do about it and how to create a truly sustainable practice. So that's what we're talking about today. All right, so let's jump in. Why focusing on production, number of starts, the financial metrics is something that we all kind of do, but it's actually focusing on that exclusively is not a really good idea. And I tell you why we do this. Every practice management course you go to, or you go to conferences and, there are clinical lectures and there are lectures on practice management, business lectures. All of these lectures typically focus on how to have more patients, how to make more money, and the culture, right? The running the team, because we are solopreneurs, but we rely on our teams, right? Like hardly ever a doctor can run a practice herself, right? So we have to learn how to manage people, which we were never taught how to do it. And so we typically struggle with that. And so we learn that. And also there's always conversations about production, consultations, conversion, how to have, more starts, how to attract more patients, all that stuff, right? And so we're constantly fed this focus towards finances. Yeah. And that makes sense, right? We've invested money. We had to take out loans, most of us, to start a practice. So, we see those numbers going up, the interest, and we have to, pay it off, and we feel the financial pressures, especially in today's economy. And so it's understandable to focus on finances, but here is why focusing solely on this does not serve you as a woman specifically. The reason why is because if you have noticed, the people that are leading business conversations in the dental world, the leading business conversations with the financial piece of it, those people are typically men. They're typically male doctors. And the huge difference between them and us, you and me, my friend, is that they are not the mom. They're not the wife. Yeah? And so we kind of forget this piece, and then we'll look at these Facebook groups, or we look at these conference or these study groups when the guy is giving you all these numbers about his practice and you feel inadequate, you feel behind, you feel like you're not growing enough, but he has a stay-at-home wife and a full-time nanny, which you don't. So it's not apples to apples. We are not comparing apples to apples. That's why I want you to keep that in mind, and that's why focusing solely on these metrics for women, for us, I really don't recommend. It's going to be a huge hit on your sanity. It's going to move you further away from creating a sustainable practice, which is what you want. And so I want you to look at your production and starts and your marketing as one of the pieces of the puzzle. Okay. And always keep in mind who is the one leading the message, right? Who is the one delivering the message? Maybe it is a woman, but she has been practicing for decades. She's so much more ahead of you, and you're comparing somebody's end to your beginning. That's not fair to you. Okay. So this is not piece number one. Why I want you to look at the financial metrics as one of the pieces of your success as a practice owner. Then piece number two is there's actually something called a gender bias in medicine, which is a documented phenomenon. I don't know if you knew. But what it means is that patients and staff perceive male doctors as more authoritative, as more knowledgeable, as more, valid. And so if you find yourself that your staff kind of talks back to you or doesn't take you as seriously as they do maybe a male colleague, there is a reason why. It's not always your leadership style, okay? It could be just because you are a woman. It is what it is, right? Even up to this day, when I talk to my friends and we moved to Nashville, moved to the new area, and I was looking for a pediatrician for my children. And I was asking, my neighbors, my new friends, if they could recommend a pediatrician. And immediately people said, oh, I know this doctor. Who do you go to? What's his name? They immediately associate doctor with he. See what I'm saying? It is so ingrained in our culture to associate medicine and dentistry with male roles, which is kind of funny because in orthodontics specifically, right? In medicine, in dentistry, we have a little bit less than half of dentists are female. The different statistic. I think the last statistic I saw, there were, 35% of dentists, general dentists every year graduating are female. But amongst orthodontists, as of last year, 2024, 68% of us are female. So it's kind of funny to assume you're going to a doctor is male. It's a female now, but it's still so ingrained generationally in people's minds that an authority is man, the doctor is male. Yeah, and so I just want you to keep that in mind, right? That if running a team feels hard for you, part of it is just because we're women. And that's okay. There are ways around it, okay? But just so that you know and don't take it as personally, okay? That's number one. Number two, why it's harder for women to be practice owners, to be entrepreneurs, is because of the double standards that we have been placed on us by a society. Here's what I mean by that. If you have a family, if you're married or you have a partner and maybe you have children and you are a working mom, right? You're a working woman, or maybe you want to have kids. Probably your partner, we live in a modern world, so probably your partner doesn't stand next to you and tapping on your shoulder to have a home cooked meal every day. But there is this expectation, there is this pressure to have a clean home, to have fresh food, to, look a certain way, to, if there's any events, to be a good hostess, right? There's still this pressure on us to be this domestic figure, to be this motherly figure, even though we're going and making hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Most of us are breadwinners, but there's still this second job that sometimes we ourselves held ourselves to this high standard to also be, this homemaker and this great mom. And so it just makes it not an equal play field, right? Between us and men. So I just want you to keep that in mind. So if you ever have this little voice in your head that you come home and you're so just bone tired and the house is a mess because nanny didn't clean it up, or maybe kids are older and they didn't clean up after themselves, and you have this urge to go and clean up the kitchen counter, but you're so tired and you have if you don't go to sleep right now, you're not going to be able to wake up and work out. That is what I'm talking about. That is the expectation, the pressure that we have put on ourselves because of what we had absorbed from the society, from the expectations in the movies, from maybe our parents. And this is something that could be changed, but it starts with you, right? You realizing that you don't have to do everything yourself. That doesn't make you a bad mom if you have help. That doesn't make you a bad wife if you don't do something or outsource something, okay? But these two things, the gender bias in medicine and the double standards that are placed on women as homemakers, as wives, and as moms, make it much harder for us to run businesses, to have practices. So I just want you to remember that. Again, whenever you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. I am trying so hard. I'm working so hard, but I just feel like I'm burning out. I'm trying to be nice. I try to do things the right way, but I have no energy. I'm burning out. I don't feel confident. That is what's going on, my friend. Okay. So we talked about not focusing on finances, financial metrics specifically, because most of them are created by dudes that are not in your shoes. And they're not in your shoes. They don't have those two challenges that you as a woman have. And so then how can we be successful? How can we have these amazing practices that support our families and allow us to have life, allow us to have the balance that we want? That's what I call the third piece of this episode, is what to do to create a truly sustainable practice. I want you to start thinking about success. And depending where you are in your practice journey, you may or may not have realized that. But if you are just starting out, your mind is just focused on marketing and sales. You're like, how can I get patients through the door? I'm so afraid. Am I making enough? Am I doing enough? Am I going to get enough starts? Am I going to have enough new patients? Can I at least break even? Like, your whole brain just fight or flight going into this. But eventually, in a couple of years, you're going to figure it out, especially if you have a startup. It's going to take you a couple of years. So you're going to figure it out. And then your biggest headache is going to be staff. Because you're going to solve the problem of new patients. And now we're going to have to service these new patients, right? Or all this pool of active patients. That's where your biggest headache is going to go. And at the beginning, as a practice owner, you define success as making money, right? We are at least not in debt. We're at least not in the red zone. But as you solve this immediate problem, you will start defining success as having balance, as not working crazy hours, as better delegating, as having better communication with your team, as making decisions faster. And that sustainability piece will become important to you. Okay. And if you are just starting out, this is a little bit of a glimpse in the future of what's to come. And if you're exactly in the spot, then this is perfect advice for you right this moment. So how do we create a truly sustainable practice? There are 4 main things I want you to think about it. So first is I want you to think about your priorities. Okay. I want you to pause for a second. Don't think about practice and think about your life. What is going on in your life? And how does practice fit in this as a piece? Because as a business owner, we tend to focus so much on our business. Like, it's everything about business. How can we make it successful? How can we make sure that everything runs smoothly? And then we kind of fit our life into it. And that's how we start burning out. I am asking you to do the reverse. I'm asking you to think about your life as a whole. What does it look like? For example, what is your priority right now? Is it maybe growing a family? One of the big challenges for us women is that, for us women doctors, is that we delay having a family. So many of us, right? Because we have all these years of education. And you might be now in your late 30s and you decided you're ready to start a family. Maybe there's some challenges. Maybe you need to go through the IVF. Maybe you're doing some treatments, right? So your growing a family could be a big focus for you right now. Yeah. Or maybe it is that you're in your late 40s, early 50s, and you have teenagers or like preteens, and you only have maybe a good 5 years left with them. And you're starting to think like, oh my gosh, like I solved some problems in my practice. Now I have kind of different problems in my practice, but I only have like 5 good years with my kids. Like, I am really aggressive about my time priorities right now, right? Or maybe it is that you are just in such a constant fight or flight trying to solve the fires at your practice that you're starting to lose temper with your partner, with your husband, And maybe you're starting to have more fights and like there's more tension in your relationship. So saving your marriage, focusing on your marriage is a big priority right now, because divorce is really costly, not only financially, but also emotionally, especially if you have kids, but even if you don't have kids, right? So you really want to think about this. Or maybe it is that you are a breadwinner, right? And you are, supporting the family. The majority of the money that goes into the family comes from your practice, right? And so you want to have the work-life balance, but it's also very important that a certain number of money is coming from your paycheck, right, to the family. So think about it like the bigger picture, what it is going on that you want to focus on, what's important for you right now. And then what you want to do is step 2, you want to structure your weeks based on those priorities. Okay? We often forget that as a practice owner, we make our own hours. We kind of start opening days and hours to accommodate patients and staff, and then 1 more hours, and these patients want this and the other. And so we're starting to take away from our life and chip and not delegate as much. But I want you to, this is a friendly reminder that you know the boss. Okay, you can adjust these things based on what's the most important for you right now. And even if, because I hear this all the time, well, but I can't afford to cut on hours, or I can't afford, like, it would be nice to work 3 days a week for my mental health, for my physical health, but I just can't do it because I'm the breadwinner. We gotta think, my friend, a little bit bigger picture. Okay, that's why having sometimes a coach or a consultant, like somebody from the outside, a very good trusted friend, maybe like a mentor, somebody with a lot of experience, is really beneficial, because you gotta see a bigger picture outside of your current, like a tunnel vision for the problems, right? That's what a lot of practice owners are. We wake up and we're like swimming in these day-to-day fires, right? But the bigger picture is, if I want to make X amount of money and I have like 24 hours a week to do this, right? That's literally my example. Now you start thinking, okay, how do I need to delegate? Right? And I heard this advice. I love this advice. I never forget. I think it was at the Women in Orthodontics conference that I attended. Somebody said, never be afraid to spend the money where you make money. And I thought that was genius advice, right? We are not spending money when we are making money. If you are hiring an extra staff person, or you're hiring maybe an associate, or you are hiring into or creating systems, clinical or some kind of IT systems for your practice, you are not spending money, you are investing money, because there is an ROI on that investment. There's a return on that investment. Yeah. So never be afraid to spend money where you make money. And where you make money is everything that has to do with your practice and your own. You are the money-making machine. Your health, physical and mental. This is an investment, because that's how you're going to make the money back. Okay? So number 1 was realize your priorities. What's going on in your life? What's the bigger picture right now? And then 2, structure your weeks to accommodate these goals. Because back to that example, if we need to make X amount of money and we want to work 3 days because of our mental and physical health, or maybe our kid demands, now we can figure out a way. Now we can figure out a specific type of marketing. We can figure out an associate, put all these systems in place so they're working and we are hitting our goals. This could totally be done. Okay. And the last piece is create team that supports your systems. Okay. You don't want to be reinventing the wheel. You know that. You want to have systems for how you do marketing, how you do your consultations, how your clinical protocols, work. And you want to train your team either by having a practice consultant come in, or you can do it, or hire a really great office manager who does that. You want these things to be on rinse and repeat as much as possible. Okay. So when we do these 3 things, it's going to be so much easier for you to maintain and create a sustainable practice that you want. And one of the things that I talk to you guys and I see literally every couple of weeks come in is so many of you are in your late 40s and early 50s, and you have probably preteens, like kids somewhere from 10 to 15 years, and we're not feeling as young anymore. Yeah, maybe there's some hormones going on. Maybe we're in premenopause happening, and so you don't have as much energy as you used to have. You can't just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and taking. You need time to recoup. You need time to sleep. You need time for yourself. And that's where you're realizing that way of just focusing on the money and pushing and not creating this sustainable place is no longer working. Like, you can't keep up this pace anymore. And you have to kind of go back and rebuild things. If you're there, we can totally do that. But if you haven't gotten there yet, you can now preemptively realize that, okay, I will end up there. And so what I want to do is I want to think about my priorities for the next, either current, or if you're just starting out, think about your next 5 years. What are my priorities, right? And then make sure you structure your weeks this way, and you have a team with systems that supports you. And if you want to learn more about any of these things that I mentioned, how to decide on your priorities, how to have these systems, how to schedule your weeks, this is exactly what I do in No Stress DDS Mastermind, which, by the way, enrollment is open. New round is coming up. The enrollment is open right now, and we are starting March 18th. No Stress DDS, if you didn't know, is my signature 6 months program, specifically for women doctors, especially if you're a practice owner and especially if you're a mom. It is a place where you will become a confident leader from a nice, burning out, maybe starting to burn out doctor. That's what we're going to help you create there. And if everything you've heard today sounds lovely, but you tend to get affected by your team's mood, or maybe you experiencing some team drama, you're thinking, okay, Jana, I can kind of set my priorities. I understand not to only focus on finances, and I can think about restructuring my weeks. But boy, when I walk in the office, I could just feel everybody's moods. I could just sense the tension. If that's you, I have a special bonus for you. In a couple of weeks, on March 9th, it's a Sunday, so anybody could attend, I am hosting a free masterclass called Your Practice, Your Rules. Stop letting team drama run your day. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern. It is completely free. And I'm going to do a deeper dive into team dynamics, how to not allow your people-pleasing and motherly tendencies bleed into the way you run your practice, and how to become a confident leader that knocks things out and has that sustainable practice. All right, my friend, I hope to see you there. It's March 9th. I'm going to leave a link to register in the show notes below. And if you're interested in learning more about the mastermind, I'm going to leave some information too. If you are someone who is a genuinely honest, good, nice doctor, a good person with a good heart, who is trying her best to do good treatment and be a good doctor, but you find yourself feeling overwhelmed and stressed, this No Stress DDS Mastermind is definitely for you. I would love for you to join us this round so that I can help you create the sustainable rinse and repeat practice where you feel confident, you are not dreading Mondays, and it feels easy because you deserve to have much easier days. All right, my friends, I will see you during the masterclass. Otherwise, I'll catch you later next week. Have a good week. Bye.